Harley-Davidson Panhead Chopper. $16,000 US. Des Moines, Iowa. This 1949 Harley-Davidson Panhead Chopper is a deeply personal and character-filled machine that represents the true spirit of early American custom motorcycle culture. Built around the legendary Panhead platform, this bike is not just a motorcycle but a rolling piece of family history, mechanical craftsmanship, and classic chopper attitude. Offered in good used condition, it carries the kind of authenticity that cannot be replicated by modern builds or catalog customs. This is a bike with soul, presence, and a story that matters. Originally rebuilt and fully redone in 2021, this Panhead Chopper benefits from a relatively recent mechanical refresh, giving it the confidence of a solid runner while still maintaining the raw personality that Panheads are known for. The engine runs exceptionally well and is described as running like a dream, which is exactly what experienced Panhead owners appreciate most. Like any true Panhead, it marks its territory with a small amount of oil, a trait that longtime Harley enthusiasts understand as part of the design and charm rather than a flaw. This is an honest vintage Harley that behaves exactly as it should. The chopper configuration gives this bike a strong visual identity. Built on a tilted 1972 Harley-Davidson frame, it blends multiple eras of Harley history into a single cohesive machine. The stance is aggressive yet classic, capturing the look and feel of old-school choppers that were built to be ridden, modified, and personalized rather than parked behind velvet ropes. It currently needs paint and a few custom touches, which gives the next owner the perfect opportunity to finish it to their own taste without undoing someone else's vision. This bike invites creativity while already providing a solid, proven foundation. What truly sets this Panhead apart is its backstory. This motorcycle belonged to the seller's father, making it far more than just another vintage Harley for sale. Because of that connection, the seller is clearly invested in finding the right next caretaker rather than simply making a quick sale. This is the kind of bike that deserves an owner who understands vintage Harleys, respects their quirks, and appreciates the responsibility that comes with owning a machine like this. It is not a beginner bike or a turnkey modern cruiser, but rather a serious motorcycle for someone who knows bikes and enjoys the hands-on relationship that comes with them. Mechanically, the bike is in strong running condition and ready to be enjoyed. The rebuild in 2021 means many of the critical components have already been addressed, reducing the uncertainty often associated with older Panheads. That said, this is still a vintage chopper, and it rewards owners who are comfortable maintaining, tuning, and refining their machines over time. The fact that it runs well now makes it an ideal candidate for light customization, cosmetic finishing, or simply riding as is while gradually dialing it in. From a market perspective, 1949 Panheads occupy a very desirable position in Harley-Davidson history. Early Panheads marked a major technological shift with aluminum heads and hydraulic lifters, setting the stage for decades of big twin evolution. Chopper Panheads, especially ones with genuine history and documented rebuilds, continue to attract strong interest among collectors and riders alike. At an asking price of $16,000 US, this bike represents an accessible entry point into Panhead ownership compared to high-dollar restorations or museum-quality originals that often sit unused. The seller is parting with this bike not out of lack of appreciation, but due to time constraints and the need to fund another meaningful project, the rebuild of a 1951 Chevy. That context adds honesty and clarity to the sale. This Panhead is not being dumped or passed along casually. It is being offered so it can continue its story with someone who will ride it, work on it, and keep it alive. Located in Des Moines, Iowa, this 1949 Harley-Davidson Panhead Chopper is a rare opportunity to own a real-deal vintage Harley with mechanical integrity, emotional history, and room for personal expression. For the right owner, this bike is not just transportation, but a long-term relationship built on sound, vibration, and tradition. 1970 Triumph Tiger. $5,000 US. New Paris, Pennsylvania. This 1970 Triumph Tiger represents an increasingly rare opportunity to acquire a truly original British motorcycle from one of Triumph's most respected eras. Bikes like this are becoming harder to find every year, especially examples that have not been restored, modified, or pieced back together over time. This Tiger stands out because it remains largely untouched, preserving the character, materials, and details that define Triumph motorcycles at the height of their reputation in the late 1960s and early 1970s. What makes this motorcycle especially compelling is its authenticity. This is a numbers-matching machine with a clean title, purchased directly from the original owner, and still accompanied by its original title. That kind of documentation is exceptionally uncommon and adds serious credibility and value. Even more impressive, the dealership sticker remains on the rear fender, a small but powerful detail that speaks volumes about how carefully this bike has been preserved over the decades. For collectors and purists, those details matter just as much as the mechanical condition. The Triumph Tiger was known as a versatile and well-balanced motorcycle, offering a blend of everyday usability and spirited performance. In 1970, the Tiger carried the classic Triumph parallel twin engine that made the brand famous worldwide. The power delivery is smooth but lively, with a mechanical feel that modern bikes simply cannot replicate. This example reportedly runs great, with everything working exactly as it should, which is remarkable for a motorcycle that is over 50 years old and still largely original. Visually, the green exterior suits the Tiger perfectly and reflects the understated confidence of British motorcycle design from this period. Rather than flashy paint or excessive chrome, the Tiger relies on proportion, simplicity, and mechanical honesty to make its statement. The lines of the tank, the stance of the bike, and the overall silhouette remain exactly as Triumph intended, making this an ideal candidate for shows, collections, or careful riding. One of the most telling signs of originality is the presence of the original tires, which the seller believes are still fitted to the bike. While those tires should absolutely be replaced if the motorcycle is going to be ridden regularly, their presence further confirms how untouched this Triumph truly is. Importantly, the bike also comes with an extra complete set of wheels in excellent condition. This allows the next owner to preserve the original wheels and tires for display purposes while fitting the spare set for safe riding, offering the best of both worlds without compromising originality. With approximately 10,000 miles shown, this Tiger has clearly been used but not abused. That mileage suggests it was enjoyed as intended, yet spared the kind of heavy wear that often leads to extensive restorations later in life. The fact that it remains a strong runner today reinforces the reputation of Triumph engines from this era, known for their durability when properly maintained. This motorcycle is described as a one-owner machine, which adds another layer of rarity and desirability. A single-owner history often means consistent care, fewer unknown modifications, and a clearer story overall. Combined with the original paperwork and matching numbers, this Triumph Tiger offers a level of provenance that collectors actively search for but rarely find. The seller has priced the bike at $5,000 and has been clear about being firm on that number. Given the originality, documentation, and condition, that price reflects not just the motorcycle itself, but the fact that bikes like this almost never come up for sale. Many original Tigers are either locked away in long-term collections or have already been restored, modified, or parted out. Finding one that remains this honest and complete is increasingly uncommon in today's market. Located in New Paris, Pennsylvania, this 1970 Triumph Tiger is ideal for a collector who values originality, a rider who appreciates vintage British engineering, or someone looking for a historically significant motorcycle that can be enjoyed responsibly while continuing to appreciate and value. Whether it ends up in a climate-controlled collection, at vintage shows, or on careful weekend rides, this Tiger represents a rare chance to own a genuine, well-documented piece of Triumph history that still feels exactly as it did more than half a century ago. For Harley-Davidson Sportster. $5,500. Thornhill, Tennessee. This 1964 Harley-Davidson XLCH Sportster is a true piece of American motorcycle history, representing one of the most iconic eras of the Ironhead Sportster lineage. The XLCH model, known for its kickstart-only configuration and stripped-down performance focus, was built for riders who wanted a raw, mechanical, and uncompromising Harley-Davidson experience. By 1964, the Sportster had already earned its reputation as a fast, lightweight, and aggressive machine, and this example carries all the character that makes early XLCH models so desirable today. Finished in a striking peach pearl paint that leans toward a warm orange tone, this Sportster immediately stands out visually. The color suits the era perfectly and highlights the bike's classic lines, while the custom frame and fender molding add a unique, period-correct custom touch. These details give the motorcycle a strong vintage presence, whether it's sitting in a garage, on display at a show, or eventually rolling down the road. It's the kind of bike that draws attention not because it's flashy, but because it feels authentic and honest. Mechanically, this 1964 XLCH shows several promising signs for anyone familiar with vintage Harley-Davidson projects. The engine reportedly has great compression, which is one of the most important factors when evaluating an ironhead Sportster. Good compression suggests a healthy top end and provides confidence that the motor is a solid foundation rather than a costly rebuild waiting to happen. The transmission shifts smoothly, another major plus, especially on a bike of this age, where worn gears or internal issues can be both expensive and time-consuming to address. The clutch is also described as feeling good, indicating that the primary and clutch components are functioning as they should. These core mechanical positives mean this Sportster is not a basket case, but rather a largely intact motorcycle that simply needs some finishing work to be brought back to life. While the bike is currently not running, the seller notes that it should not take much to get it going, making it an attractive candidate for a winter project or a straightforward recommissioning. As an XLCH, this Sportster embodies the purest form of the ironhead experience. No electric start, no unnecessary frills, just a direct connection between rider and machine. This is the model that racers, hot rodders, and performance-minded riders gravitated toward in the 1960s. The sound, vibration, and feel of a kickstart ironhead are exactly what many enthusiasts seek today, especially as modern motorcycles become increasingly refined and electronic. This bike is also noted to have lots of cool parts, which adds value beyond the core machine itself. Vintage Harley components, especially correct or period-style pieces, continue to rise in value and can be difficult to source individually. Having a bike that already includes desirable parts saves time, money, and frustration for the next owner. Combined with the unique paint and frame details, this Sportster has the makings of a very personal and distinctive motorcycle once completed. With only 2 owners listed, this 1964 Sportster also benefits from a relatively simple ownership history for a machine that's now over 6 decades old. That sense of continuity often reflects a bike that has been appreciated rather than endlessly passed around. Whether the next owner chooses to keep it largely as is, perform a sympathetic restoration, or build a period-style custom, this XLCH offers flexibility while still retaining its core identity. Priced at $5,500, this Harley-Davidson Sportster sits in a sweet spot within the vintage market. Early ironhead XLCH models continue to gain interest among collectors and riders alike, especially those that are complete, mechanically promising, and visually distinctive. Finding a 1960s Sportster with good compression, a smooth shifting transmission, and a solid clutch at this price point is becoming increasingly difficult. Located in Thornhill, Tennessee, this 1964 Harley-Davidson XLCH Sportster is an excellent opportunity for someone who appreciates classic American motorcycles and is willing to put in a bit of hands-on effort to bring one back to running condition. It's not just a project, but a chance to own and revive a genuine piece of Harley-Davidson history, full of character, soul, and timeless appeal. 61 BSA Gold Star Catalina. $11,750. Franklin, Tennessee. This 1961 BSA Gold Star Catalina is a highly desirable example of one of the most iconic British single-cylinder motorcycles ever produced, combining competition heritage with classic road presence. The Gold Star Catalina was developed as a street-legal scrambler inspired by BSA's racing success, and it remains one of the most respected models among collectors and vintage riders worldwide. Finished in blue and presented in used condition that is described as like new, this motorcycle reflects careful restoration and knowledgeable ownership, making it a standout opportunity for anyone seeking a true vintage performance machine with historical significance. Powered by the legendary 500 cubic centimeters Gold Star single-cylinder engine, this Catalina delivers the raw, mechanical riding experience that made the Gold Star name famous. The engine has been fully restored, including both the top end and bottom end, ensuring that the core mechanical components have been properly addressed rather than cosmetically refreshed only. The Gold Star motor is known for its strong torque, distinctive exhaust note, and responsive character, offering a riding feel that modern motorcycles simply cannot replicate. With only approximately 300 miles since restoration, this bike has seen minimal use, suggesting that wear is extremely limited and that the machine has been preserved more as a prized example than a daily rider. The frame and engine numbers are clearly documented, with frame number CB32C608 and engine number DBD34GSS6220, an important detail for collectors who value authenticity and traceability. Matching and documented numbers play a major role in the long-term value of classic British motorcycles, especially Gold Stars, which have become increasingly sought after over the past decade. The Catalina variant, in particular, holds a special place due to its dual-purpose nature, blending off-road-inspired styling with road-going usability. Visually, the 1961 Gold Star Catalina is unmistakable. The proportions are lean and purposeful, with a competition-inspired stance that reflects its scrambler roots. The blue finish complements the classic BSA design language and highlights the bike's clean restoration. Every angle of the motorcycle communicates simplicity, function, and intent, which is exactly what enthusiasts look for in a properly restored Gold Star. Unlike over-restored examples that lose their soul, this bike appears to retain the authentic character that made these machines legendary. Although the motorcycle last ran and operated properly around 3 years ago, this is not unusual for collector-owned vintage bikes that spend more time stored than ridden. With a machine of this caliber, a careful recommissioning is typically expected before regular use, mainly involving fluids, seals, and standard checks rather than major mechanical work. Given the quality of the restoration and the low post-restoration mileage, this BSA represents a solid and honest foundation for either riding enjoyment or continued collection. The Gold Star Catalina appeals to multiple types of buyers. For the collector, it represents a historically important British motorcycle with rising market value and strong global demand. For the vintage rider, it offers an engaging and rewarding riding experience that emphasizes skill, feel, and mechanical connection over modern electronics. For the enthusiast who appreciates craftsmanship, this bike showcases an era when performance was achieved through engineering simplicity and rider involvement. Fueling is traditional gasoline, keeping the ownership experience straightforward and authentic. The simplicity of the Gold Star's design means fewer systems to maintain, but also demands respect and understanding from its owner, which is part of the appeal for true vintage motorcycle enthusiasts. This is not a bike meant to be rushed or treated casually, but one to be appreciated, warmed up properly, and ridden with intention. While the listing notes Franklin, Tennessee as the advertised location, pickup is available in Wellington, Colorado, and the bike is being sold on behalf of the owner. This transparency adds confidence for serious buyers and reflects an honest, straightforward sale. At an asking price of $11,750, this 1961 BSA Gold Star Catalina represents strong value in today's classic motorcycle market, especially considering the quality of the restoration, the low mileage since rebuild, and the enduring desirability of the Gold Star name. Opportunities to acquire a properly restored Catalina do not come often, making this a compelling option for anyone looking to own a true piece of British motorcycling history. Harley-Davidson Sportster 1000. $4,000. Arab, Alabama. This 1971 Harley-Davidson Sportster 1000 is a classic ironhead that captures the raw, mechanical character that made early Sportsters legendary. Built in an era when motorcycles were simple, loud, and rider-focused, this bike represents Harley-Davidson in its most honest form. With its kickstart-only setup and opposite controls, it delivers an authentic vintage riding experience that modern machines simply cannot replicate. For enthusiasts who appreciate old-school Harley engineering and the unmistakable feel of an ironhead motor, this Sportster offers both character and value. Powered by the iconic 1000 cubic centimeters Ironhead V-twin, this bike delivers strong low-end torque and a visceral riding sensation. The Ironhead engine is known for its solid construction, distinctive exhaust note, and mechanical presence, making it a favorite among collectors, custom builders, and riders who want a machine with personality. This particular example runs and rides, making it a usable classic rather than a static project. The kickstart-only configuration adds to its vintage appeal, offering a direct connection between rider and machine that defines early Harley-Davidson ownership. The bike features opposite control setup, which further emphasizes its period-correct nature. This is not a modernized or softened classic, but a machine that stays true to its roots. Riding it requires a bit of familiarity and respect, which is exactly what many vintage Harley enthusiasts are looking for. It rewards engagement and mechanical understanding, making every ride feel intentional and memorable. Cosmetically, the Sportster is finished in silver, a clean and understated color that highlights the bike's classic lines. The narrow profile, exposed engine components, and traditional stance showcase the simplicity of early 1970s Harley-Davidson design. This is a motorcycle that looks right parked at a local bike night, cruising back roads, or sitting in a garage alongside other vintage machines. It has the kind of presence that comes from age and authenticity rather than flashy customization. Mechanically, the bike is very close to being fully sorted. According to the seller, it only needs front brake pads and a small O-ring to address a minor oil leak, with the fix estimated to take just a few minutes. These are typical, manageable tasks for a motorcycle of this age and should be well within the capability of anyone comfortable with basic maintenance. The fact that it already runs and rides means the hard work has been done, leaving only minor finishing touches to make it even better. With an indicated mileage of 9,999 miles, this Sportster appears to have seen relatively modest use for its age, though as with many vintage bikes, exact mileage should be considered approximate. What matters more is its current condition and functionality, and this bike offers a solid foundation whether the next owner plans to ride it regularly, lightly restore it, or use it as a base for a period-correct custom build. Ironhead Sportsters are especially popular for choppers, bobbers, and cafe-style builds, and this one provides a running starting point that can save significant time and expense. At an asking price of $4,000, this 1971 Sportster 1000 represents an accessible entry into vintage Harley-Davidson ownership. Values for early Ironheads have been steadily rising as clean, running examples become harder to find. This bike sits in a sweet spot, priced reasonably while still offering authenticity, usability, and classic appeal. The seller is also open to trades, specifically for a manual Honda Civic two-door coupe or an Acura Integra, which may appeal to buyers looking for a creative deal. Located in Arab, Alabama, this Sportster is well suited for someone who appreciates hands-on motorcycles and the culture surrounding them. It is not a showroom-perfect restoration, but rather a genuine vintage Harley that runs, rides, and carries the marks of real use. That authenticity is exactly what many riders and collectors value most. Overall, this 1971 Harley-Davidson Sportster 1000 Ironhead is a strong candidate for anyone seeking a classic American motorcycle with soul. It offers mechanical simplicity, iconic design, and the unmistakable feel of an early Harley-Davidson. With only minor work needed and plenty of character already present, this Sportster is ready for its next chapter in the hands of someone who understands and appreciates what an Ironhead is all about.